my understanding of Vietnam, and then based on the other stories I've read there from bloggers that come from that country, usually say that like, oh yeah, like if you're like an outspoken critic of the government, especially like after 2017, that you can get like locked in jail, or people will like be there to intimidate you, or that you can have like these like you'll get detained and you'll have these long waits for like pretrial stuff where you won't get
This is
like
Luna Nguyen, who's a Vietnamese
Yeah.
YouTuber who makes political content with me
Yeah.
on a daily basis,
And I
okay,
have
and criticizes the
yeah.
government.
And I have to tell you this: 99.9% of the news that you're reading about Vietnam in the Western newspaper and all kind of media, they are fake. Okay, and then just don't trust them because
And I
like
can give
that's
you,
anti-communist propaganda.
I can give you some specific examples that come up all the time. So, for instance, when the BBC reports on Vietnam, they will often say things like the government owns 100% of the land, which is not true.
Yes, that's not true at
They will
all.
say that like Christianity is illegal here. I've seen that in BBC
Yes,
articles.
that's not
That's a
true.
complete fabrication. You have to be careful about what you trust from the capitalist media when they
Exactly.
talk about Vietnam.
And I remember that, wait, I want to talk to you about this. When you told me that there's no evidence of stable communist country in the world. And you know why? Because the capitalist country in the world fuck all us up.
I
It's
mean,
not,
even if that was true, that's not my fault that your economic system is too weak to resist outside pressure. If anything, that's another
oh
argument
my
for
god.
capitalism. I'm
Jeez,
sorry. Like, if your
let
countries
me-
roll over because they can't defend themselves, that sounds like a good argument for my
Oh
system.
my
Well,
I'm
God.
sorry, but
are you
Oh
saying
my
that
God.
they rolled over
Well, wouldn't that
and
just
didn't
be?
defend themselves against the United
Oh,
States?
I'm
and
sorry.
the Vietnam
I'm
War?
sorry.
Wouldn't that just
We are-
demonstrate that
we were
capitalism's
weak.
had a head start, though? That wouldn't really demonstrate that.
Yeah,
that-
they had a head start, of course, because they imperialized Vietnam since the 1800s.
Oh, I'm sorry that we were so weak that
So-
America bombed us to the Stone
EJ.
Age in the 60s and 70s. It's not perfect, come on. But
Yeah, no, I
I,
don't-
I want you, no, I want you to look at the fact and talk to a real Vietnamese person that live in Vietnam, because you also should not just the Vietnamese living in the outside in the other countries that got all the kind of brainwashed by the anti-communist propaganda, especially from USA. Like, we are not bad as you believe or as the US propaganda is talking to us. You need to look at the fact. You cannot just say that, you cannot say that, oh, communism is bad because look at Vietnamese government now. No, it's not what the
Well,
thing you
no,
should do.
I'm not saying all I mean, we can look at like a number of communist governments that have failed miserably to point to why communism is bad.
Yes, because let me tell you this. Listen to me. I will tell you a little bit about the history. Why
Okay.
all the communism country in the world fucked up like this. First, in the 1945, we had our first revolution, and right after that, France jumped to us. Right after that, American jumped to us and bombed us to Stone Age, and then China do it, and then from the 80s, in the 80s we had 10 years a real communist country in the world. My mom living in that time in that society when the whole village just talking about her village only, gather together, work together. We all poor, but we all poor the same, and we share everything we have. And she said that was the best time that she had in her life. But in the 1991, when I was born, USSR collapsed. The reason why you all know, right? The USSR collapsed, and then we lost the only one ally in the world, because the whole world turned our back on us. Only the USSR at the time backed us, and they helped us a lot. Like, we were so poor, we lack of everything. We don't have any resources because you or the capitalist country in the world destroyed them all. Okay, and in the 1991, we were left alone in the world, and then the whole world, even mostly the World Bank, they forced us to let the capitalism in, or else they will leave us alone, and then we would die by poverty. And that's how we were fucked up because of you. If the whole world just decide to help us or to just work with us, not we don't require any great help or something, just work with us, just trade with us, it would be like Vietnam would continue, Vietnam can continue the communist society until now. But no, you didn't let me do that, because we were the best evidence to prove the world that communism will work well, and you don't let us do that. You force us. If you want to play our games, you have to follow our rule. And then, and from the 90s to the early 2000, we have the kind of the đổi mới reforms. That the time we try to combine the communism and capitalism together. We had to let the capitalism in to ruin our country, but we still try our best to keep the socialism, the communism in our country to help people. That's why we have I am proud to tell you this. We have the best price control in the world. Nobody, no country in the world can do this like us. Like we have price control in rice. Rice always so cheap that even the homeless people can have it, can buy it.
We had a swine flu. There's a swine disease. Every
Wait,
Asia
your mic is
was
cutting
pretty-
out. Sorry.
EJ, your mic's cutting out. So go ahead and try talking now.
check one.
Okay,
Yep,
you're
you're
going
good.
good. All right.
Okay.
Continue.
So we had there was a swine disease recently in Southeast Asia, and like Cambodia and all these other countries in Southeast Asia were affected
Taiwan,
really.
Cambodia, yeah, all kind of countries. The pork price go really high up.
But
Like, nobody
Vietnam
control
has price controls they put in, and which they have price controls on a lot of things, like permanent price controls. But this was like an emergency price control. They put that in, and so like we didn't even notice it happening. We had to
Yes.
see it on the news that all these other countries were suffering because of that.
We
I
had
mean,
to kill millions of pigs all over the country, but the pork price still stays the same. And the government will import the pork from the other country, and then they will pay the price gap. They will use the tax.
I've been here. I just want to say
This
this.
is
I've
like
been
a
here
great
for.
example of a price control working, but I mean, I can point to Venezuela for price controls absolutely failing. I mean, I don't know
Yes,
what I'm
because
supposed
the capitalism
Venezuela's
control it.
80% capitalist-owned economy, so it's not
Yes.
the same thing. But the so okay,
Well,
listen.
it was a country that tried price controls, and the price controls were too stringent, and it wasn't possible to
Yeah,
produce anything at that level,
anything
and they
can-
left. I mean,
any kind of macroeconomic policy can like fail or succeed depending on how it's implemented, of course.
Oh,
But
I
listen,
agree.
I just
But,
wanna
you,
say-
but yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I think 80% of Americans are overweight. The idea that our food is too
They're
expensive. is
malnourished because
clearly-
they live in
That's
food deserts
disease.
and all they can eat
That's
are
the disease.
hamburgers
Sure.
and
So this,
convenience
yeah. So
stores.
when you
Not
start
because
talking
they
about,
are wealthy enough. That's the
Sure.
disease. When the capitalism overthrown everything and they put KFC and all kind of hamburgers everywhere, it's fucking expensive, and that's the only thing you can have, and that costs you the disease, and the healthcare system is not cheap enough for you to treat them all. And that's the problem. You're fat not because you're rich. Come on, you're fat because that's the disease, and that's the only thing we have. Vietnamese people, we eat
how would
fresh
price
vegetable everywhere.
controls? How would a price control help you with a food desert? I agree that food deserts are a problem and that poor people don't have access to high nutrition content food, but I don't know why you think a price control would fix that
So
problem. That's
a food
distribution
desert, one of the main features of a food desert is that there are places to buy food, but there are places like 7-Eleven or McDonald's. And so the healthy, nutritious, wholesome food is either unavailable completely or way too expensive. Like if you want to go buy an apple at a 7-Eleven, it's
I
$1.
understand this. I understand what a food desert is. I'm asking you to tell me how a price control would help you with a food desert.
Yeah.
If you can't charge more than like whatever arbitrary number, 25 cents for an apple or whatever, then 7-Eleven can't charge $1 or $2 for an apple. And it's not just a matter of price controls; it's also a matter of availability.
Here's
obviously,
the example of food desert, babe. Here now in some provinces in Vietnam, we have a kind of the drought season. Like they cannot grow rice because of there's no rain. And you know what? What did our government do? The government will send the rice to the local government and sell it there. So really cheap rice, less than like 50 cents for 1 kilogram of rice, and 1 kilogram is shitload of rice the whole family can eat for a whole week. So I mean, like
I'm
it's
pretty sure
so
that if you
cheap
set
that-
I'm pretty sure if you just set these price controls in some of these markets, then they would just stop selling those particular products. Like if they can't make any money off of it, they just wouldn't sell it.
that's
Wouldn't that
that's
be
a
like-
major problem of capitalism. You're correct. Yes.
Yes.
Actually, go back and actually answer your question. No, we haven't had an anarchist society in peacetime, in a developed country situation yet. And I think that just because it hasn't happened, that's not an argument that it cannot ever happen or will not ever happen. So
Yeah, couldn't you have made the same argument about capitalism back when we had feudalism?
Is
like,
that to me?
Yeah, at you, Dustin.
Yeah, people seem to bring up that meme all the time that like just because like a feudalist would make the same arguments. But I don't know. The arguments for capitalism seemed compelling, and the capitalism has worked. The arguments for socialism seem fantastical. Socialists are like I mean, I guess I could say constantly killing each other and involved in conflict, but apparently that's always the fault of like other capitalists. But if anything, that just makes me want to be more capitalist because I sure as hell wouldn't want to be in a socialist country being killed by capitalists. So, I don't know. I
What are
don't know.
you-
I am not an anarcho-communist, but there's one thing I do agree with anarcho-communists. Is that you said that anarchism is no end goal, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's true because I think that anarchism and communism is all about finding the problems and then fix it together, all together. It's not about just like, oh, I see the problem, but I don't care because this is not my problem. Or you even like, I want to be of them because I don't want to be killed by them. That's that. So instead of fighting the problem to help yourself and other people, you will be one of them to help like oppress the other people. If Vietnamese people do that, we never win the war.
Yeah.
Because instead of fighting France and America, why don't we become one of their soldiers and then kill our own people? Yeah, that's it. And that's the thing I really agree about the anarcho-communism. There's no end goal. There's always a problem. But the problem is that we have to be together to solve the problem, to have the best solution for everyone, for all the people from the trans LGBTQ plus, trans people, black people, minority, Asian, POC like me, not just all about the white people. Okay, and that's it.
Thank you, Lena.
If I were Destiny's fan and then I heard him talk to the other woman like me, the POC woman, like that, like about our country, about how it was treated, like, can I still keep that feeling the same on him? Can I still keep liking him, loving him? I can't. I mean, I still see some of people still defending him, like about the other stuff, and like when those people they still trying to defend him, they never dare to mention about what he talked to me, how he cheated me. I mean, like, did they realize it, or they know it but they try to deny it or something, try to get away from it or something, try to not mention it? Because if like just a normal person seeing him talking to a person like me, he's a fucking asshole. He's really an asshole, actually. I mean when he talk about it was our fault, our country's fault to be bombed because we're just too weak. I mean, like, if I was in the same room with him, I would definitely slap him in the face. I would definitely do that because that's so awful thing to say to a whole country. Like, and just look at our history. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm getting too emotional now. We had a nearly 1,000 years fought with China. They tried to control us, and we still tried our best to keep the king and the people, all the people. We fought a lot, and then we had to give them tons of money and treasures just to keep them out of our border for 1,000 years. And they tried to erase our writing, our language, and then try to merge us together. And we worked so hard to keep the Vietnamese our own culture, like, still until now. And I am really respectful for all of our ancestors when they did that for us. Like, after 1,000 years, France came in the 19th century. They tried to control Vietnamese king, and they just use Vietnam as a place so they can plant the rubber cheese or the coffee or black pepper. Like, they just ruin this place, and then they take everything back to their country for 100 years. And after that, in 1945, when Ho Chi Minh got our first revolution, we fought the Japanese army at that time because they were fascists, right? Japanese came to our country. They took everything left. we had 50 million people as population at that time, and then almost all of them died of, like half of them died of starving. It's so horrible. There's nothing to eat. They took everything. Like just some little things left after France left our country. Japanese came and they took everything left. And then we got our first revolution still. Ho Chi Minh tried to deal with the king at that time. He asked the king to resign, and we got our first independent country. At that time, Chiang Kai-shek and his army, like he said that he wanted to have Vietnam to get rid of Japan. So they wanted to bring thousands of their army, of their soldiers came here. But actually behind that, Chiang Kai-shek and Japan, they worked together to ruin us more. At that time, Ho Chi Minh had a really tough decision. Like, I know that like it's really hard for him to choose that. He had to choose between three enemies: Japan, Chiang Kai-shek, or France. And he decided to let France back to Vietnam because he and us believe that compared to those enemies, France, we had the highest chance to defeat France more than Chiang Kai-shek or Japan. So it led to 9 more years to fight France. Until 1954, we got the Great Dien Bien Phu victory. So you kicked the France out of the country. And here's the biggest, like one of the biggest liar of American history. They said that they started the Vietnam War in 1965, right? Then 65 until 1975. So they said that it's only 10 years. But you know what? Actually, they jumped into Vietnam right after France get out. Means that at least from 1954, 10 years earlier, they back up. They try to build the anti-communist group all over Vietnam. They try to bomb Hanoi, to bomb the North in the Stone Age. Though the reason why they said that they started the war in the 65 because the first time they bombed us or something like that, or Great War, something I don't remember. But actually they worked way more earlier than that to back up the anti-communist group, to back up Chiang Kai-shek, all kind of like so horrible for way earlier than that. And then they tried to bomb the North of Vietnam, Hanoi, to the Stone Age, but they failed still. They failed, so they came to the South and they changed their strategy. Like in the North, they thought that just bomb us and then we will be defeated. And when they failed, they came to the South, they changed their strategy. They built their own government there. They built the US backup government there. Used the guy Ngô Đình Diệm, the very first president of Vietnam government in the South, backed up by America. And then they use our own people to fight against our own people. And that's what the word Viet Cong came from. That president, that Vietnamese asshole government, president, he created the word Viet Cong, Vietnamese communist, Vietnam Cộng sản. Like actually literally it just is like to call we call ourselves Viet Minh. It's a really good word to call the Ho Chi Minh soldier, something like that. They created another word to call us, to try to persuade the people from the South to see that Viet Minh is good, but Viet Cong is bad. And they call us Viet Cong, to just try to exchange the definition of the same group, communist group. And that's how the word Viet Cong came from. And now you're like, as you can see, we call ourselves Viet Minh, but you call us Viet Cong. That's the really shitty words to call us. And then that's why, of course at that time there was so many people who work for the government at that time. They got a lot of money, and they were treated well because they work for U.S. government, and we were so poor at that time. We didn't even have enough rice to eat, and America brought a lot of stuff like food supplies or sauce. The first time we got sauces, something like that, like ham, milk. So they thought that America government was so good to them at that time, and the government in North Vietnam, the Communist Party in the North Vietnam, they came and then they destroyed everything, and then they took that like previous life from them. That's why they hated us. They thought that we ended their good life. In the meanwhile, they didn't know that it was just a small group of people that got advantage from the U.S. government. A lot of the other normal people, the other villagers, they were so poor, and you could not imagine that how did the soldiers, the American and Vietnamese soldiers, cheated them at that time. They burned their village, they took everything, they burned their rice. They didn't take it. They didn't take the food. They burned them. They destroyed it. They killed the children. They killed the husband. They raped the woman. It's so horrible. And then it was so miserable. And then we came. My grandpa, he went there. He was from the north like us. Like it was totally peaceful there. We didn't need to go to the south and fight. Just leave them alone, right? It's not our problem. But we still brought our army to come there and help them. And my grandpa died in 1969 to try to liberate them. I mean, and I'm so sad when I still talk to many anti-communist people living in America now. They blame everything on us, like it was our fault. It was my grandpa's fault when he came to die for them, to save the other people. Like, oh my god, it's so horrible. I'm sorry. I'm being too emotional now. I mean, so frustrated and we didn't want it. We didn't want to be bombed. I'm sorry that we're weak, so you can bomb us. I mean, it's horrible. Where's my drink? I need a drink. I mean, it's sad. I mean, at least there's one like the bright light in the dark tunnel. That I met a Vietnamese person on Twitter. They said that they were born in a Vietnamese family in America, and they were taught all the stuff about anti-communism, but finally they got out of it. Like that person, they realized the truth. So like they are communists now, and then they understand it, and it really warmed my heart, because at least there's someone understand and got out of that. Yeah, it's so sad. I mean, it's kind of bullshit to say about that. Like, I'm so frustrated that I mean, I don't have any word to say to Destiny. I don't even. Just like a few years ago, our government sued American government about the orange agent. The agent orange, right? I'm not sure what you call this. But I mean, we sued them and we won. We got all the evidence. You got all the evidence that like you already know how toxic it was and you still use it. You didn't care. We didn't give a fuck about our generation of children. We won, but America, like, they just ignore it. They just ignore it, just like fucking asshole. Like, I don't care. Just ignore it. Like, I mean, the purpose of us for suing them is we didn't need their apologize. We didn't need their compensation, their money. We just wanted the world to know about their action because we are fucking tired of all those anti-communist propaganda in the world talking about us. Like, you did such a horrible thing that nobody could imagine. Like, after the third or fourth generations, we still have disabled children because of that organization. And then, like, we just wanted the world to know what we did first. To know that how horrible you was and you are until now. You didn't want the money, even though we are poor. I mean, I'm so tired. I'm getting sick of all the anti-communist propaganda. I even didn't want to bother to explain because it's so bullshit. Like, I was having American researching all the information about what the BBC News talk about it, about the Human Rights Watch, the website. They're supposed to be like help the human rights for all people in the world, but like all the stuff I read from that is so bullshit. Like that website made us look so ugly. Like they got one incident, like they got one story, they got the worst story, and then they made it like all over the country look like that. I mean, like, what the fuck is this? Like, they just talk a little bit or like a small part of the truth, and they convince us to believe that that's the whole truth. It's not. It's so tired of it. Yeah. And it's so funny. I mean, like, again to Destiny. Do you remember that what he talked about? The obesity? That, like, most of the people, American, they are eating now and they fat. Mean that they are rich and wealthy. What the fuck is that? That's fucking disease. The capitalism is so bad that, like, they got everything. They took everything and they let you eat so unhealthy foods, like KFC all over the place, the McDonald's all over the place. Like those foods they would consider that kind of normal foods, but not. It's so unhealthy. Like American told me that it's so hard to find fresh food in America, and that's fucking obesity. They causing you disease when you cannot control your weight. That's a disease. It's not mean that you're rich. Fucking idiot. Maybe that was right maybe 100 years ago, but it's not now. It's so ridiculous, so kind of ignorant. Why did he say that? He's older than me. He's more than 30 years old, right? Oh my god. And then, my god, you're having disease because you cannot access to healthy foods and cheap foods. The only thing you can get all over the place is McDonald's and KFC. And said that is good. And what the hell is that? And then the second thing, there are two things he said that really made him believe that he's an asshole and he's a coward. Is that he said that when the American asked him, like, what would you choose between being a socialist or capitalist? He said that he didn't want to be killed, so he chose to become one of the capitalists. What the fuck's that? So instead of standing up and fighting to protect yourself and the people that you love, You will be one of the enemy to help them kill your own people. Like, what if you do? If Vietnamese people would do that, we would fucking lost the war. And I cannot imagine that how would we look right now after that. Instead of standing up and fighting to liberate our own people, we will be one of the soldiers of the imperialist countries to kill our own people. Like, to sell our own country to other people. That's fucking coward. To say that and to choose that. That's your fucking coward. And you don't care about the other people. You're fucking selfish and coward. And when you say that, you just care about your own life. Yes, everybody cares about our own life, of course. But I mean, can you just think for the other a little bit? Like, think for your parents, for your wife, for your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, for your kids. Will you do that? Will you be one of the soldiers to come to your own house and burn it? Or even you want your whole family to follow the enemies? To be oh my god, to be one of them. And the second one is that and an American talk about all the problems that capitalism are causing first. Like all the racist things, racist stuff, sexual harassment, or the poor people are not having enough food and cannot access to an affordable healthcare system. He said that? Yeah, he knows that, but quote unquote, I don't care. It's not my problem. What the fuck is that? He knows the problem. He knows that problems came from capitalism, but he's not coping with this. So, coping with them, so he don't care. Why do I have to care? Because I'm not dealing with it. Fuck the other people. Again, talking about my grandpa. He was having a peaceful life, not rich, a peaceful life in the north. Why did he decide to leave my grandma with 4 kids at home? My dad was the first kid, and he was only 10 at that time. He left my grandma for my kids to come to the south and fight. I mean, it's such a bullshit and coward and asshole to say that. And then there are still over 200 people subscribing to such an asshole. I guess that, like, how many of them are black? How many of them are POC? How many of them are women? How many of them came from the poor developing country like Vietnam? Or all of them such white privilege still subscribing to him? Because after I heard a person say that to the other person, I would immediately unsubscribe. I mean, I cannot believe that. I'm so sad.
Fighting evil by Mooncast. Luna kicked Destiny's ass. Liberals don't get a pass. She is the one called Sailor Luna. Hooray!